Hey, so I am Bryche Taylor, and we're here talking to one of my dearest friends for 18 years, Miss Devra Crandall. And I just want to say the reason that I want to have her on and do this, it's honestly so important to me because this woman here, we've had very similar journeys in a lot of ways. But when I say she's done the work, she's done the work. And so you always want to listen to someone that's actually been through it and solved it. And then that's how they figure out how to help you. So we're going to talk a little bit today. We're going to start with some, mind, body, soul connection, morning routine. That's kind of our topic, but we tend to go off topic, Devra and I, on a daily basis. So you never know what you're going to get today. So hi, Devra. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to talk to your amazing Women of Wellness. It's a really important work you're doing, Bree, and I am very honored to be sitting here talking to you about a subject that is really meaningful to me and also something I've been living personally for quite a while.
So, can you share like a little bit about your journey and kind of how you got to here, just from why you started being a health coach? And I know it's very loaded. You've had a very long life of different things that have happened, but the things that have been the most poignant that pushed you to do kind of all of this work that you're doing.
Well, specifically to the health coaching, I do have a certification in that through IIN, and that is something that was kind of interesting because it was a path that I thought that I was going to be going down, nutrition, coaching, helping people um, with their wellness, but more through nutrition. And going down that journey and that road, I realized that that wasn't my calling, even though I have so much in my toolbox that I learned from that program. Um, and it actually led me to, as I started going down the road of self discovery and self mastery and trying to figure out my life in this crazy world, I landed on the fact that I am a healer. So I do Reiki and energy work at this point. But health, wellness, mind, body, all of it has always been a deep interest of mine and something that I'm working on personally.
So, what does the mind body soul connection mean to you, and how do you kind of incorporate it in your practice and what you're doing right now?
Well, as a healer and someone who, really identifies with being woo-woo, being very intuitive, being very in touch with the collective and being wired that way, I also have a deep interest in the mind and how it works, psychology, and the body. So it's really marrying all those things together and not putting eggs just in one basket. Really, mind, body, and soul are when they're synchronized and when you're working with those together in your life, it just creates so much purpose and balance, um, creativity. It's really, it provides a lot.
So, in keeping with just trying to stay, because obviously there's so much involved in mind, body, and soul in our lives. But I like the topic of morning routine that that we kind of decided on, or you decided on for today, because it just sets up your whole day in so many ways. So, how did you kind of personally discover like the morning routine and the mind, body, and soul connection, and that how that was important to you?
It was really honestly accidental. The morning routine is something that people are talking a lot. It's a big buzzword, something that people are
Yeah.
talking about now. When I started my morning routine, it was really around my personal awakening, which was in 2013. It's actually probably around this time in 2013. So it's 12 years ago before we were talking about any of this. This was considered very out there, very woo-woo at the time. I feel looking back that what I just, again, it's that soul thing. I knew that I needed some type of grounding. I needed something that I could have, I don't want to say control over, but something that I could really rely on and look forward to and ground in. So it really did start from that place for me. I created it through having a morning practice, basically a morning meditation. And it really evolved over the last 12 years from there. But truly, that's where I started. I would get up, I would sit down in a chair or on my couch, and I would do meditations. And I actually started with guided meditations. I had nowhere, I had no one to talk to, where to start. So I just found some guided meditations, I think through Deepak Chopra at the time. And I was a mom with two very young kids at that time. One was 2, the other was around 5. And it just so happened that it was around the diagnosis of my husband having non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But the routine actually started before that. So it was kind of incredible how it created this baseline around a really intense period of time in my life.
And
And really,
help you through it, right? Yeah, that's great.
really ended up doing that, but that wasn't the purpose. It's not even when I created it. It started coming in even before that. Um, and as a matter of fact, when I think back to that time, I could hear my kids, because I trained them at such a young age to give me that space. So I know what it's like to have, a crazy life, have 2 kids, be a mom, and just feel like you have no time or space. And I really did train them. And I remember my youngest, I'd hear his little diaper, squishing up, and I'd have my eyes closed, sitting there, and they would both get in my face and be like, "Mama, oh, Mama's meditating. Okay, shh," and they would just go off. So
So, I mean, I think that's great because, a lot of working moms, because you obviously, what part we didn't say is that you were an esthetician and owned your own business for 20 years. And so, and with kids and everything. So you've had the experience of trying to balance everything and the stresses of it. So how crucial is it that people set a morning routine, especially like women like us that are moms and working and all of that?
yeah, no matter how you cut it, we're all living busy lives.
Yeah.
Without it's the starting your day in a grounded space, there really is, it's the jump off, for your day. So it it doesn't even have to be a long, time consuming practice. So many of us are jumping out of bed and we're literally reaching for our phone, where our brains are turned on. We're immediately going into uh, the day and our to-do list with no space to ground and no space to start. So the importance is, it really does shape the way the rest of your day is going to go. And even if it feels like it's not, it's a slow build to see the benefit of how grounding it is to have a practice like this.
What do you think people need to do, like a mindset shift to kind of start a morning routine?
I think the shift is 1 degree turns, honestly. I think when you, like anything, like when I'm trying to bring something in and cultivate something in my life, it's never the big bite. It's never the, oh, I want to be there and do that. It is, okay, where do I need to start right now? Or where do I need to start today? So, and I like to refer to that as 1 degree turns, because it gives you a vision of, when you're cultivating something or you're wanting to build some type of routine, no matter what it is, you're just doing these little steps. And I think the biggest thing that gets in people's way is that they think, oh, morning routine, great. Like I can never do that. I'm a hot mess in the morning. I'm running around. I sleep in, 10 times past my snooze on my alarm. And it can be just starting the next morning with one little move. And that could be waking up 5 minutes before you usually do. It could be waking up and just doing one thing different than you did the day before. We can go through some of those examples, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, okay, so let's say I don't know anything about morning routine. And to be honest, I even ebb and flow with mine based on, which kid is going where and what time and stuff. But I know you and I have talked about big rocks and little rocks, and the big rocks being the important things in your life. And I think this is probably similar. It's just kind of like, make sure you're setting that for yourself. But what are some of the things, like examples, that people could set for themselves to have a successful morning routine?
I think it's really just starting from zero. So if, for instance, my morning routine lasts about anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. Did I start that in the beginning? Absolutely not. I think I woke up about 10 or 15 minutes before my day started for meditation. And that was the very, very, very beginning. And now it's evolved into almost an hour of practice for me. And that means I get up that much earlier. But starting, it really is the jump off point could be tomorrow morning. I normally wake up at 6:15. I'm going to set my alarm and I'm going to wake up at 6 and I'm going to get out of bed off that first alarm. I'm going to
Right.
push and that'll be my first step tomorrow. I'm just getting out of bed. Even if you don't start a practice, you're getting out of bed. And you could do that for 1 week and then build these little degrees to building a little bit of a routine.
Yeah. I think for me that I noticed one thing, making my bed. And I'd heard some speech online that rolls around. It's a military guy, but he's like, if you don't do anything right the rest of the day, at least you made your bed. But, it can be small stuff like that, right? It doesn't have to be big mountains.
Right. And everyone's routine, like what mine looks like could look 1,000 times different than yours. It's not what matters. It's personal. It's it really needs to fit your life and what you're wanting to get out of the beginning of your morning. I think another great first step is to not reach for any device. Leave the device on the charger,
Yeah.
leave it, and do not look at it. I mean, I get up, I use the restroom, get up when my alarm goes off, I go to the restroom, and that could be the beginning of your routine. And you just do that for a week. And then the next week you go later on, I get up, I use the restroom, I don't touch my phone, I go get a cup of hot tea. For me, it's warm lemon water. I'm a creature of habit. It's almost like a reward system for me. And now it's just what I do. I wake up, I do my thing, I brush my teeth, I do tongue scraping, and then I go into the kitchen and I make myself a warm lemon water, and I walk to the back where I'm sitting here and I start my morning practice, which, by the way, has changed and shifted in the last even 3 months. So it's never rigid. It's never, I think that's the other part that can deter people is the rigidity in it. Like they
Mhm.
hear a routine and they automatically go, oh God, that's scary because that's what I do when I'm trying to make shifts towards things that don't come naturally for me. I find that I'll jump 10 steps ahead instead of just starting at square one.
Right. And I think the big message here, too, that I want to touch on, because it kind of loops into everything, especially for women, is the guilt. Right. So if you miss a day or or just something happened or you get sick, like it's okay. But the whole point, right, of setting that routine is so you have something to go back to. So do you think, is there like a way that you think people could figure out what they need, like maybe write it down, or what do you think is a good option for them to figure that out, what they want for themselves in their morning routine?
Yeah, and just to back up to what you just said, that was so important. That's such an important piece to all of this because that's the other part of rigidity. And I know as women, we can be so hard on ourselves and we strive for perfection. And then we see someone else doing something and we think, oh, they have it all together and oh, they're doing it so perfectly. And that's doing this really consistently for the last 12 years, consistently meaning I fall off. Of course, I get sick. I go on vacation. I'm like, oh, I need to get back in my routine. Around time changes are really challenging. It changes the circadian rhythm a little bit. So I definitely wanted to mention that can be part of it. That it's not about being perfect and being hard on ourselves. It's really touching in how, for me, anytime I want to make a change or I'm working towards a goal, I like to touch into, or I feel it's important to touch in, what do I want to feel? Like, why am I even doing this? Why am I even striving for this? Because if I talk to you about doing a routine and you're hearing this and thinking, oh God, that sounds overwhelming, and you're not even asking yourself the question, why would I even want to do this? Then it's going to feel forced.
Yeah. Right. So how do you think, like, if I was to, let's say, like, write down or journal maybe what I think's important to myself, And then I can start implementing it one by one. Like, is there like a structure someone could follow, like the top list, like number one thing they want to change, or look at the easiest things maybe? Like, what do you think?
I think the top things that come to mind really are the screens. I think the screens are such a deterrent. Because it's just this vortex we go into, and then before we pop our head up and we've been in there 15 minutes, we've checked emails, we've checked social media, we've responded to a text. So I think either having the do not disturb on the phone or some type of a sleep cadence on your phone that you can have set automatically, that may help. I feel like that's a really good place to start. Um, Not to get too much into the night before, but having some type of awareness of how you're going to sleep and how you thinking about before the next day starts, like what time do I want to wake up tomorrow? How do I want to feel tomorrow? What are the
Right.
things that I need, that I want to achieve tomorrow? And that can not even be lists, because I have struggled with to-dos. I am more of a person that touches into so much. How do I want to feel? I want
Right.
to feel balanced. I want to feel centered. I want to feel grounded. I want to feel like I've got a purpose for my day. And it doesn't have to be this heavy, I've got this purpose and it's not like that. It's just, what do I want? Even just tapping in how I want to feel. Um, Step by step, it's going to look different for everyone. Like some people are going to wake up and say, oh, this sounds really great. I'm going to get 15 minutes early and I'm going to go out for a walk. Other
Yeah.
people are going to feel very called to journaling, and they may take that time to sit down and have a journal practice. Other people may say, gosh, meditation, I've always wanted to do that. Maybe I'll download this 21-day meditation program, put my earbuds in, and sit in the mornings and do that. So, step by step, I don't know if there really is one that I could recommend. You know,
There's no, I think the important thing to take away is you're saying there's no mistakes. You're not making a mistake if you don't do it this way or that way. It's really about connecting with yourself and figuring out how you want to feel, and then backing it up and go, what are the things that I do that make me feel that way? Right? Yeah.
exactly. It could be as simple as I leave my phone on the charger and I pour myself a cup of coffee and I sit and I drink that entire cup of coffee looking at the sunrise. And that could literally be your morning routine.
So what role do you think like gratitude plays in your morning routine and where you're at? Because I know I've had times where I've tried to like I try to be thankful in the morning. That's a shift that I've recently made. Instead of waking up and being overwhelmed with my day, being thankful that I get to go into my day. And that's been huge for me, like mindset wise. So for you, what do you think? How do you think gratitude can help with that morning sort of structure?
I mean, gratitude is everything. It is again, it's for me personally, it's the jump off point. I start the day in gratitude. And even if it's not I've had times where I've had a gratitude journal and it's prompted, and I'll be prompted to do that for a while. And then I don't feel as connected to that, or I'll journal and it'll automatically come through what I'm grateful for. Sitting in meditation, I've done that where I've had no noise, no earbuds, just sitting in silence, and the things that come through automatically that I would never have otherwise given my mind a chance to even feel. So it could be prompted, it could be guided, or it could really come in silence. But yeah, gratitude is it's a huge part of the practice for sure.
And so with you being, attuned in Reiki, obviously I recently got attuned following kind of, your person that, attuned you, and it's been very recent for me, so I'm still learning. But how do you feel like that has played a role in switching your not just morning routine, but setting you off for the day and some of your mindset for your day?
Well, gosh, becoming a Tuja Reiki and becoming a healer, as you're finding, is its own path. It's its own awakening. It what I noticed in becoming attuned is it just instantly grounded me. I was a very ungrounded person. It's probably why I've been so attracted to the morning practice, because I really, really ran ungrounded for a lot of years. Um, and to be honest, this is what now being more grounded, doing energy work, having this practice and having this, self-realization, this time, I even notice it more when I walk out into the world, how ungrounded our society is, and how, um, yeah, just how anxious, um, it just seems that people are, that I have no other word for it. It just seems like it's an ungrounded society. So with the Reiki, that really did that for me. That was something that was an instant, I feel grounded. And I actually started like I said, my practice has changed over the last 12 years. It has gone from, all the way in a full circle. So where I may start, maybe a year from then, I'm changing my practice. And maybe a year from then, I'm going into something else. Again, it's not rigid. And I don't really have a structure. I have the ground rules. I have my non-negotiables. I have my core values, which is, how do I want to feel? What am I going to tap into that makes me feel alive, that makes me feel connected to myself, and then therefore makes me feel connected to other people? And what do I need to do and not to do to feel that? And not to be redundant, but it is grabbing the phone. It is putting information into your mind early in the morning, or having conversations, or reading things, flipping on the news, things that just fill.
Yeah. And so how, just, on topic, but off topic, just to float over, how do you recommend, what are ways people can ground themselves that are very simple? Because I know I struggled with this in the past, and I've talked to you about this before. And it's like, am I doing this right? Like, am I grounding myself? So what are some examples of grounding that people can do?
The number one thing that I tell my clients is, it's as simple as this: put your feet on the ground and just feel your feet. And you tell your mind, I feel my feet on the ground. And I notice that. And so it is. It's that easy. It's literally feeling your feet on the ground, because we can become so disassociated from ourselves, and we don't even realize it. We don't even realize our feet are on the ground. We don't have, we could be sometimes driving somewhere and get there and like, wait, what? How did I even get here?
Yeah.
Remember the drive, or what you did. So it really is coming back into your body and feeling your body. It could be your hands. It could be, I feel my sit bones on my seat, but it really is feeling your body, and it can take a second. It doesn't have to be a long process.
I think that's a lot of people make that mistake or get nervous when it comes to meditation or, grounding or anything like that, right? Because they think, oh my gosh, like you look at a picture of someone like this and it freaks you out, But it's like, I remember, so we followed Tara Brock for a long time, and she's a professor of mindfulness. And she had done a talk and she was laughing about how people really look when they're meditating. And it's not glamorous at all. It's like like hunched over. So like, I feel like what you're saying about just, just take a minute. Can you do it anytime, or is it something that has to be done in the morning or at night? But it could be anytime in the day.
Oh my goodness, you can ground multiple times a day. I mean, there are days where it is so much coming at me emotionally, task wise. There are days where I need to ground 10 times. I'm feeling really off kilter today. And for me, I will feel my feet, and then I'll just take a nice deep breath, and I'll literally let it out, and I feel grounded. Um, some days I don't feel like I need as much, but I start every day in a grounded space, every day. And, it's part of any practice, anything, a workout, what you're trying to accomplish at work, cooking and eating healthy foods, whatever it is, it takes cultivation, and it takes a repetitiveness to see results. So just a routine in the morning that you you personally could count on, whatever that looks like for you, and doing that over and over and over. And if you do, like you said, get off kilter, not being hard on yourself. I'm human. I just went 5 days without my morning routine. The beauty of having the routine and having days in a row where you've done it is that you start to build the feeling. Again, it comes back to your
A
feeling.
muscle, right?
Yeah, and you can actually feel it. And sometimes it's great when you do get off your routine, much like working out or whatever it is that you get off, you feel it and you go, oh, I'm tired. I don't feel as much energy. I just, I don't feel the same. So sometimes getting off track is a good thing because it helps remind you, oh, that is why the morning routine or having some type of time to myself, having a centered space, you see the benefits of it
Yeah.
over.
So, what are some other kind of routines or daily practices people can do to strengthen their like mind, body, soul connection
Um, Other things throughout the day or specifically to the
throughout the day? I mean, obviously we've covered a lot about morning routine, and I
yeah.
think people, can understand that with the grounding. And I think the no phone thing is an amazing tip. But maybe we should start with first, like, what is mind, body, soul connection? How do you define that?
Yeah, that's actually what I love so much about Tara Brach. I believe she's a psychologist and she's a Buddhist. So she teaches Buddhism grounded in psychology. And I mean, obviously, she's extremely soulful human.
Yes.
She's such a good example of what that looks like. Mind, body, and soul connection. It reminds me of the chakra system. We don't have to get too much detail about that. That's really what we are working with when we're working in Reiki, and we're working with prana. We're working with the body's connection to life source. Um, and an example of that, because a lot of people are like, wait, what's prana? What does that even mean? I like to give examples of prana and how it makes you feel. And it is attached to life source. So through the mind, prana could be, I just watched the most amazing sunrise or sunset and feeling into that feeling. When you can look into your mind's eye and think of a time when you've had an experience with a beautiful sunset, could have been on a vacation, something that pops in your mind, that feeling you get, that centered feeling, is prana, which is going to affect your body. With the mind, it could be a powerful meditation. It could have been a yoga class that you went to, and the instructor just had a really beautiful way of putting you into a grounded space or closing out the yoga session. And that could really not only affect the body, but it also calms the mind. Another example could be the difference between two meals. Not that there's anything wrong with having, say like a meal that's, fried or full of, just one of those really yummy, luxurious meals versus a meal that is full of fresh greens and fruits and basically filled with prana. You can feel the difference in your body. So prana really runs through our mind, body, and soul. And it's our relationship to it and how we are cultivating it. So throughout the day, I love getting outside. The sun is one of the most prana filled things that we can tap into. And we know it because we can put a plant in a corner with no light or a flower and you can watch it wilt. We're
Mhm.
no different. We're no different. So I am a huge fan of getting outside. And if that is someone who's working full time, that means you set a timer or you figure it out in your schedule where I have to take a phone call. Say you have a meeting. I'm going to take that meeting outside. I'm going to put earbuds in and I'm going to take that meeting and either go for a walk on that meeting or sit outside in that meeting, or I'm going to take my lunch outside. So that's one of my favorite ways throughout the day.
So, what about people that live in a darker, colder climate half the year and can't don't get that sunshine that we get here in San Diego?
That's tough. I know that's something I I do think about it because I got some friends that live in Seattle and they have these, I don't even know what they're called. They're special lights that they go under and hello, like your lights.
Red light, yeah, yeah. Red light, infrared sauna. Those are great options for people that you're right that do have a darker climate because we do suffer from the sun acquired deficiency. So
Right.
it is a thing. But I think even fresh air, right? Like doesn't matter if it's cold. Yeah, because I grew up in Canada, but I love to ski and I would hike in the snow and it's just all about getting outside in general. So yeah,
Yes.
no, I think that's amazing. So how does nutrition and like movement fit into this mind body connection? Like I know you just gave the example of a salad versus fried food and the prana and how that all works together, which is amazing. But overall, like I know in the morning, if I start my morning out properly with food, I probably will make better choices, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That really speaks to where am I beginning? What is my, without rigidity? Like we were talking about, there's a day we get off of our routine. We don't beat ourselves up. There's a day that we maybe don't get outside for that walk, or we have a meal that it doesn't feel as nourishing or makes our body feel in flow as we would like. And then we start from scratch. We start again, these little 1 degree turns. But as far, were you asking about nutrition?
Yeah, so a little bit just about nutrition and, because I know obviously with your health coach background, but also your personal journey. I don't know if you're up to share a little bit about your personal health journey, just so that you can, show that you're relatable to that. It's not just like something that happened, like it was a journey that got you there.
Oh gosh, yeah, it was a huge journey. That's actually how I ended up becoming a healer, was through my health challenges. I believe it is through our challenges that is half the time how we grow and how we end up teaching or even learning about some of these things. So yes, for me, interestingly enough, I used to think it was about the food. And of course, I mean, I love fresh, healthy food. And I'd say a lot of the times I eat fresh, healthy food, but my actual journey with all of that was more of an energetic and an emotion that's how I began having a practice in the morning. That's how I started a meditation practice. That's why now food is looked at as nourishment and not as a reward or punishment. Um, it really is tied to that string of really looking within. And again, it comes back to how did I want to feel? And with my health journey, I just felt terrible all the time. But it actually had really little to do with the food that I was eating because I was actually on the other end where I was eating just so rigidly and healthfully, thinking that that was my issue. And it was actually energetic. And it was, yeah, I was an ungrounded person.
The mind is very powerful, I think, when it comes to all of that. And, I personally don't do everything right. Very rarely do I do all the things that I would love to do to feel the way I want to feel every single day. That's not happening. I usually miss something. And the days where I hit them all, I'm like, yes, win. But I mean, it's just not the way life is. So, it's okay for people to I think what I really want people to understand, because I know you so well, is that the product that we see in front of us today, that you are, you look so beautiful. You obviously, are shining out with just, can I share your age? you're, that you're 50 and, you're just, you could, knowing you back then and knowing you now, just watching the evolution. But the challenges that you faced, it wasn't easy, having a husband that had cancer twice, raising 2 young boys, working and then not, and then, just there's been so much for you, and family and all of that. So, because I want people to not get discouraged, and you can start to create a narrative, I guess that's what I mean. And you can go down that rabbit hole, or you can choose yourself, get rid of the negative self-talk, I guess. Do you think that the negative self-talk is what sort of stops us in our like morning routine, for example, if we're trying to set that.
Well, absolutely. It stops us to do anything that we know we want to do that is only going to serve us. What other purpose would there be besides negative talk that would stop us? I mean, I know for me, when there's things I'm moving towards, it will be the negative talk, the doubt, insecurity that will stop me. So it's those little micro push throughs that even in my life today that I'm currently working on that are outside of morning routines and
Yeah.
death or health or any of those things. It's like, why and what am I trying to accomplish? And of course, yeah, that self-talk is it's everything. And if we're stepping into a world every day without taking time to center within ourselves, it's gonna be frazzled. And again, some people are more prone to not being as much a culprit to that. Some people are naturally more grounded in themselves. Yet, I talk to very few women that say, I feel so alive. I have energy. I feel amazing. I feel like I have purpose. I wake up every day and I know exactly how I want to feel and I move towards that every single day. It is the rare, it's just rare to see that. And it doesn't just happen. We we cultivate it. And we're doing it through community by talking about it.
Exactly. And do you think that, because I feel like women, obviously, I do talk a lot about perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause, and it's huge changes. I mean, but so is childbirth and so is puberty. And I mean, women just, we got it good, didn't we, from day one? But there can be, I find that when you hit perimenopause, if you start to ask questions and you start to want to take control, and take over what's going on in your body, it is empowering and it can lift you into a different space, right? But what do you think is what are some practices that people can do to stop the negative self-talk and start to do the 1 degree turns to shift them? I mean, obviously we talked about grounding and morning routine, but I mean, how do you stop that when you have a doubt?
I get curious.
Okay.
So again, it's these little practices that have added up over time. If you would have talked to me, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was earlier in this, I wouldn't have been able to answer it as clearly because we're working that muscle. Um, but it is getting quiet within yourself. And it is for me right now, it's journaling. It's sitting down and writing out all my thoughts, everything like bleh, like there's no editing, there's no one else that I need to please or try to impress, or oh, I don't know if that's going to hurt their feelings. I lay it all out. And then I'm able to sit with that and understand how I feel, what I feel, and then what my next move is going to be. But yeah, it's do I have the answers for, all of that, like the self-talk? And I know that we have to cultivate it. It is not just going to happen. We have to care enough. And unfortunately, with a lot of us, which actually is my story, it's kind of what happened. I did have an awakening, and then my husband got sick, but it was through the pain of that, and then my body being ill, it pushed me so far in a corner that it was a point where I literally can't live like this anymore. And then I started my climb. So it was really through pain that brought the realizations and brought this into play. If it wasn't for that, I may not have had the motivation. I may not have had the start from. And I
So
think that's a lot of people's story.
Oh, for sure. I mean, everyone has a story, right? We have to have empathy for that. And so I think it's important that we're talking about this stuff and sharing it so people don't feel alone.
Yeah.
So what about, because obviously I'm been body contouring, weight, wellness, all of that for a long time. And there's a lot of, well, what's the end game? Why am I doing this? What about those kinds of people that are saying that, yes, we're talking about how does your body feel and all of that, but how's this going to help me in 40 years? How is this going to help me in 40 years or 50 years?
you mean having routines or having a centered practice or having health routine, anything like that?
All of it. Yeah. Like if you have skeptics that are just like, well, okay, so I'm going to not pick up my phone every morning. How does that help me in the long run?
My first question, well, what happens if I don't?
Okay, so you're questioning. Yeah, that's what you want to ask yourself,
What
right?
happens if I don't? I also love why. It's this practice of why. So, for instance, that I don't think I can do a morning routine. I don't think I can actually do that. And why would I want to do that if I don't even think I'm going to be able to stick to it? When you ask the question why, well, why? Well, because I just never have follow through. Well, why? Well, because in the past, when I've tried to do something that I don't have follow through, and I just feel like a failure. Well, why?
Oh,
When
geez.
I feel like a failure, then it makes me feel like I have no energy, and then I'm comparing myself to others. Well, why? Why? Why?
And then
Uh,
it just gets you deeper and deeper, right?
I mean, there's two parts. There's all that's out there that can help us. You can have healers, you can have light therapists, you can have astrologers, you can have health coaches. They can be this person here that can provide that for you, and then you have your responsibility of what you're going to do. And that's the question. Why do I want to do this? Why does this matter to me? What is it going to look like if I keep going this way? If, just to use myself an example, I was a very how do I describe myself? I had no real, first of all, I think one of my biggest wounds is abandonment for sure. So I was always grasping to be close to people, I was always feeling left out, or I was always, comparing myself to other people. And that has been the biggest personal wound that I have unwound out of. And I love the analogy. It's like you have this, when you have like necklaces that you've got and you've had them in a container and they all get wound up together and you're like, oh my gosh. And you have to want to get them apart and then you're just sitting there.
Doing this. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, and then you're like, there's like eight more one before I can get this other one, untied. And that's really what this process is like. It's healing and, being honest with ourselves and growing. It's, it has multiple facets, but it really does have two parts. Where am I going? What do I want? How do I want to feel? And where do I start? It's a bookend.
Yeah.
We have to look at both. Where do I want to be and where do I want to start? And then it's this movement towards one another. And sometimes one's moving to you quicker, and then the other time you're moving towards it quicker. It doesn't really matter as long as you have a growth mindset and you know that you want to untangle out of whatever it is you're dealing with. There can be 1,000 things that each of us are working through. Each
Yeah.
of us have different pain points. We have different life circumstances. When my husband was sick, I had babies, and my husband had cancer. Truly, I mean, as close to terminal as you can get. My core wound was abandonment. What do you think came up for me during that
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Absolute nervous
Trigger,
system.
trigger, trigger, trigger.
I was a hot mess. How, like, what am I going to do if he lives? What am I going to do if he dies? This is another person that's going to leave me. And then I've got one baby that needs to be potty trained and another kid that's in kindergarten that's learning his ABCs and all excited. And I'm feeling torn in 5 million directions. I mean, that really is really where this journey started for me, because in that situation, there's two ways to go. And when you're, dealing with life and death and you're dealing with loss like that, you're either going to go up or you're going to go down. And, I was definitely making that turn down. It was pretty bad. Not just because my husband was sick, but because of my wounding and because of my underlying pain that I had not yet looked at. I made the choice. I knew like it's gonna be, I mean, talk about mind, body, soul spiral. It would have been mental. It was physical, and it would have continued. I believe that I would be sitting here in front of you today with autoimmune 100%, I have no doubt, or my own diagnosis
Yes,
of some
absolutely.
disease.
And that's so great that you're sharing that, because I think so many people have trauma that they haven't even looked at, and they don't even know to look at it. So I know we weren't going to talk about this, but whatever, we're in it now. So that's us. I think talking about this, because the reason why I want to talk about this is because I think, yeah, we can talk about morning routine and grounding and all these things, but when you're talking about the necklaces and you're talking about, the why, that's going to take people down a deep hole, right? And so I wanted to talk to you about shadow work, because I know you've done a lot of it and I'm trying to do some of it now. And what is shadow work? What does that mean?
The shadow is really parts of ourselves that exist that we don't want to look at. So it's literally in the shadow. A lot of times our shadows come through what projections on others. So it can be, oh, either I don't like that about that person, or oh, I really want to be like that person. And a lot of times the answer is living in the shadow, just behind us. So shadow work is really deep, deep work, and it's honestly, without having a centering practice and cultivating that time with ourselves, I don't know truly how you are ever even going to notice that you would have a shadow. If we're constantly scrolling and we're constantly on our phones and we're constantly, and not even constantly, because I'm actually guilty of that. I love information. I love chatting. It's like my number one love language. So it's not like I'm sitting here all day going, oh, I'm in my, no, no, I start that way because it lays a fabric. It's laying a foundation. And kind of to jump off of that, I like to also give this other analogy with when it comes to that, when it comes to say meditation, so many people are resistant to meditation, because I talk to people about that all the time during their healing sessions. So you can come to me and we can do all this amazing work together. But when you leave here, and you're going to feel great when you leave here, but when you go home, what are you going to do to support that? It's just like going to the dentist, he's going to clean your teeth and your gums, and then you
It's
can,
my clients too. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're going to go home and not brush floss, and then they're going to come up with a plaque buildup again. So I keep coming back to that because it really, really, really comes back to that time with yourself. You just aren't going to see it. You're not going to have a chance to see it because we're way too, there's too many things coming at us.
Yeah.
So it lays, my whole analogy I was going to make with the meditation is some people say, well, I'm sitting in meditation, I'm thinking the whole time. What you don't realize when you do say a guided meditation, there's these little itty bitty microscopic gaps that are so reparative to the brain, so reparative to the nervous system. And it's in those little tiny gaps that you think are just a glimpse, and you think that's failure. That's actually so deeply healing.
Being mindful and being in the moment and present.
Yeah, well, I mean, specifically meditation, those little tiny gaps when we feel like we can be hard on ourselves, they have really big impacts. So when there's a 5 minute, say, morning time, and it may say it's not in the morning, say it's you create it in the afternoon, you create it in the evening. Today we're talking about the morning, but having that time that we're cultivating for ourselves, no one else can do that for us. No one else can create that for us. We have to have that jump off place. What's it going to be? When is it? When are we going to start? Why are we going to start? How are we going to start?
Right. And so for someone that might feel a little overwhelmed with all this information, can we just circle back? And is there just one thing that you would suggest? Let's say they listen to this and then tomorrow morning they want to start something. And I know you said phone was a big one. But let's put the phone aside for a moment. What about the people that already do that? What do you think is a good thing?
Do you want it to be, where do you want it to start? From a mind and body and soul perspective, pick one of those three. Do you want to, is there any type of book or something that brings positivity to your life that you'd want to sit with in the morning? And you could spend 5 minutes. I read through this and I get affirmations. Is there a gratitude journal or a prompting journal that asks, questions that help get your mind going, where it can be a more reflective, um, space, or where you can be getting information that actually is calming or inspiring? Is you more of a person, it's like really, it's hard for me to get moving in the morning? Could it be a stretch practice, going on even YouTube and finding a yoga? Would it be, you know what, I've been really wanting to listen to this playlist. I'm going to put that in, this music, and go outside and do a 15-minute walk in the morning. That's the beauty, is you get to choose. Ooh, like which one sounds exciting to me? Which one sounds like I would want to do that? Like make it feel fun, not like a project or a oh
Yeah, like,
God, I've got to do this. Yeah.
and then I think, it's a bit of like, just, do you feel like if you set the intention, then it does reveal itself? That's kind of how I've felt over the years. Do you think that that's true? Like if you're just even setting that mindset.
Mindset attached to the feeling.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that will.
And let me ask you, if for what, why would you want to have a morning practice? What would be your why?
So that I have more energy for my kids, for my work day, and I'm more at peace and not agitated. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely when I'm structured or don't pick up the phone, or I actually I like having more time in the morning. And I used to be not a morning person. So, and now I am, and I'm liking it. I look forward to my, whatever. And I think this, a lot of people drink coffee, whether it's decaf or coffee or tea, whatever you love in the morning. I like that, you could look forward to just sipping that. And it doesn't have to be, if someone's not into meditation yet, or they haven't just gotten there, that's kind of, well, I know after this talk, I'm definitely going to write down a few things and implement a few more things in my morning routine, because we're always evolving. None of us are perfect, and all of this is a great learning experience for me to take on. And I hope that everyone listening is really getting this. We'll definitely be talking to Devra again. We'll get into some deeper stuff, because I know that girl's got a lot more in her brain to give. So, but how can they find you, Devra? What would be the best way if someone, especially local in San Diego, but I know you do distance healing as well. So if there's someone somewhere else in the world, if they wanted to get a Reiki distance session or even a local session, how can they connect with you?
Yes, so I do in-person sessions. I work right out of my house in Solana Beach, San Diego, California. I actually run my business off of word of mouth, which is my favorite way of getting clients, is through something like this, where we really are connecting and getting to know each other, either through each other or through, a community. You could reach me by email. It's devracrandall@gmail.com. My first name is spelled DEV as in Victor, RACRANDALL at Gmail. And you can just send me an email and we can book a session. Again, if it's distant healing, it's distant healing, or if it's in person. And by the way, you can email me with questions, or we can set up a call where we can actually, because we didn't even get into that today, Reiki and what that even is, and the energy work that I do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think too, when someone's doing energy work, you want to feel comfortable, like everything that you're talking about. The reason why I can attest, I've been getting Reiki done by you forever. And the reason why it's so powerful and so effective for me, other than other Reiki sessions I've had with other people, is because your journey and everything you've been through, you bring that to the session. It's your experiences as well. So energy is very powerful. And yeah, so I encourage anyone that wants to get a session with Devra. It is definitely transformative. And Reiki healing is amazing. Energy work is amazing. And it's a good place to start too if you're just confused and want to connect with your body.
So much, there is a lot of really amazing, beautiful things that can happen in a session. I mean, we really are channeling divine energy, however, that's whatever source that comes through for you. But, we're in such need of nervous system regulation, the central nervous system, of our central nervous system in our body. And just that alone, I think most of us don't even know where to start. I mean, again, if I had gone all these years without doing any of, and the morning practice and what we've been talking about today is a sliver of what this whole picture looks like. Um, but it really is a way to calm. It's a space to come to where you are, there's nothing you even need to do. You just come and you are put into a place that you can relax and calm, and it's really like a deep meditation. So it can be really powerful for people that are just like, I don't even know where to start, and tapping into that alone can be a jump off point for some people.
Like an initiation kind of into, yeah, into healing and self, reflection and change. And
Yeah.
change can be scary, but it's important for us to evolve. And so, I think it's good for our listeners to know that they're not alone, and there's a lot of us out there. You just have to look. um you know
Absolutely. And, it's never a point of, oh, I sit here and I have it all figured out. I do not have it all figured out. I have suffered just as much as any other person. It's just, what do we come back to? What do we come back home to? Over and over and over again. And again, it is a muscle that we're building together. And we're building it now. I love it because we have this kind of format where we can reach each other from across the world. We can be on cameras like this and have communities and have exactly what you're creating here for women, to feel good in their bodies, to feel good in their mind, and to feel good in their soul, and providing some type of fabric. And I have no doubt that someone who's listening to this, when you're ready, you'll hear it. It'll just click, and you'll make a move. And if you're not, just like all the things I'm not ready for yet, they're not happening yet because I'm not ready yet. And the things that I have been ready for, it's click, and then that's really how it works.
Timing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we've given a lot of information today and good quality stuff. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And we will definitely be talking again. So thanks everyone for listening. Love and light, and have a healthy day.
Thanks, Brie. Bye. Bye.